that were clearly talks about
Greetings and welcome to Conflict Radio. All right, greetings everybody. Welcome to Conflict Radio. Today is September 23rd, 2021, and today on the show we're going to be talking to it's Les Velez, and I'm looking at it because I want to pronounce it right. I actually didn't have time before the show to make sure I'm pronouncing your name right. It's Velez?
Yes, it is. You got it right.
All right, awesome. So I did pretty good there. Now, Lester Velez is a graduate of the University of Vermont with a Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration. Beginning in September of 1970, he served in the U.S. Army as a field artillery officer and was later vice president of Luscombe Engineering, a Silicon Valley-based manufacturer's representative company. He joined MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network, in 1991 and has held the following positions: field investigator, training coordinator for field investigators, the assistant state director in Northern California, chairman of the Abduction Experiencer Research Committee, and team leader of the Abduction Response Team. Also during that time, he became a facilitator for an abduction support group in San Jose, California, and in 1994 co-founded OPUS, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support. Les, welcome to Conflict Radio. How are you doing today?
Great, Michael. Thank you very much for having me on your show. I really appreciate it.
Man, it's great to have you on. We had a little bit of, I guess, issues trying to get the audio all worked out, but we did get it worked out, and so we are here. Let me give a shout out to everybody that's in the chat. I see Dr. Strangelove is here, Renee Cruz, Distorted Reality, King of Hucamundu, the Happy Plague Doctor is here, David Gray, Not Quite Human, Chuck Bam. Let's see as I scroll up, but see if you guys have been in here waiting and chapping. Stefan Gajda. That's a funny comment there, buddy. We'll get to that. Phoenix Fire right now. This is me playing video games this year, so good to have you here, man. King of Hookah Mundu. Will Carr is in the house, and Marty Mart. How is everybody doing today? So awesome. Everybody's here. It looks like Sterling Skins just checked in, the Happy Plague Doctor, and Caesar. How is everybody doing? So, all right. So first off, you're the first. This is episode 130, and you're actually the first. Well, I guess I can't say that, but you're one of the only real MUFON people that we've had on the show. Could you, I guess, real briefly, just people who don't know, it's a Mutual UFO Network. Could you tell everybody what MUFON is?
Sure, absolutely. MUFON was a organization started back in 1969. The mission basically is to understand the phenomena for the benefit of humanity. And how they're doing that is with a group of field investigators and various types of professional people that are looking at the phenomena to better understand it. For years and years, MUFON has been basically a nuts and bolts type of an organization, looking at the UFOs. But of late, they've decided that a more important factor, or at least as important, is the phenomena of abductions that are going on. And they basically created the A.R.T, which is the Experiencer Resource Team. And I'm a consultant for that group at this time. But years ago, as I said, they were just basically looking at the phenomena and not including the aspect of the CE4 or CE5, contact encounters of that nature, and which my organization feels is extremely important that we understand what's going on to these people and then give them the kind of assistance that they're looking for. So, and the A.E.R.C, which you mentioned in the bio, the experiencer or the Abduction Experiencer Research Committee, I basically got that started. And the A.R.T now is basically come out of that organization. And so MUFON, as I said, since 1969, it's been doing the kind of work to take reports from people out in the field. And now these reports are not only including sightings and descriptions of those sightings, but now also in many, many cases, and that's how I got involved with this way back when, in like 1991, that the people are having experiences beyond just seeing these objects. And so it's the kind of thing that I think is very important. And that's why I basically just published a book called The Unknown Other and the Existential Proposition of Alien Contact.
All right. So let me ask you this. Why did you get involved with MUFON? Did you have an encounter yourself?
Yeah. Basically, when I was 11 years old, I had seen something. This is when I was living in Connecticut, and this was a late October evening, and I was coming back in the house, and I noticed off to the right this whitish oval object silently cruising over the tree line, and it scared the crap out of me. I ran into the house and tried to get my father to come out. And by the time I convinced him to come out, it was gone. And he said, well, it's probably just a beacon of light reflecting off a cloud. But to my way of thinking, that was not the case. And so soon thereafter, I went to the library and I started picking up books on UFOs. And at that time, this is the late 50s, that George Adamski was very much involved with the UFO phenomena. And so I started to read his books. And that kind of, got me going for quite a while. And then, of course, I got a little bit older and, went off to college and then went into the service and finally moved from Connecticut to California, Northern California, San Jose. And one day I picked up the newspaper, the San Jose Mercury News, and I saw an article about Stanton Freeman, who's a nuclear physicist, that was going to talk at San Jose City College about UFOs and the government cover-up. Well, I said, okay, that's it. I got to go see this guy. And I did, and when I went there, I expected to see a handful of people, but the auditorium was full. And afterwards, in the foyer of the auditorium, MUFON had a table, an informational table, and they have a journal that they publish monthly. And so I decided, okay, I'm gonna start getting this journal. And so after a while, that wasn't enough for me. I said, no, I have to get a little bit more deeper into this thing. And of course, they have a field investigator training course. And I decided, well, that's what I'm going to do. I want to become a field investigator. Well, that's when things really started to happen.
So what does I don't mean to cut you off, but what does a MUFON field investigator actually do? Do you like get in the car and drive to people's houses who have been abducted or have seen craft? Is that what you guys do? Well, pretty much?
Typically back in those days, it was mostly people having sightings. The abduction phenomena was not very much in the minds of the MUFON organization. And so, as it turned out for me, most of the cases that I got involved with did turn out to be abduction type cases. But typically, a MUFON investigator will definitely, when a case comes in, and usually the case comes through the website, these people are then sent out to either via telephone or in person, talk to these people, try to go through step by step what had happened. There's forms that MUFON has, and it talks about physical aspects, psychological aspects, weather conditions. I mean, it's a whole plethora of things that the investigator has to actually go through to better understand the situation. And then at the end of that case study, then they make a determination as to whether or not they feel that the person is, being truthful, is the phenomena something that is explainable in some way based on data from the weather, authorities or FAA or various other sources that people are required to contact. And then that determination is then put into the case, and then it's filed into their database, which is quite extensive. So, as I said, most of the cases that I got involved with turned out to be abduction cases, which led me to really push MUFON to start paying attention to this aspect of the phenomena.
All right. So how many I guess MUFON cases get ruled to be a hoax?
Oh, the bottom line on all of this is that either they're identified, okay, that it's either a star or a weather balloon or some factor, an airplane, something that is identifiable. So a lot of that happens. Then you have cases where the phenomena is not identifiable, and it's basically categorized as an unknown. Hoaxes do happen.
Liars, like somebody who's obviously lying.
Sure. That does happen. Yes, absolutely, it does happen. But the bottom line on all of this is that generally comes to be very recognizable after a bit, because of the fact that once all the other factors are looked at, people then say, well, this is impossible, and therefore, it's got to be a hoax. But it's a relatively small number. It's a relatively small number, actually. Either they're identified or it's unidentified, and that's how the database basically over the years has proved that out.
All right, so you really don't have any kind of way to tell if somebody's lying or not to you guys?
Well, we don't do a lie detector test, of course, but the bottom line on this thing is that you can tell when you have two different categories here. You have people that are just reporting a sighting. That's one thing. But then you have the people that are reporting that they've been abducted. And 9 times out of 10, these people don't want to, have their name out there. They don't want to have notoriety. They don't have, they're frightened. They're having real issues. And so based on all of that information, you look at these people and you say, there's something going on with these people. And the big question is, what is it? And you have to listen to them and understand and be empathetic with their story. Because the bottom line, there is definitely something going on based on a lot of physical evidence that goes on with these cases. And also the fact that there's maybe multiple witnesses involved as well.
All right. So how many, I guess, sightings have you researched that have, do you speak with a lot of people that have seen a UFO or try to report a UFO and then they find out they were abducted later on? Or do they know they're abducted mostly right away?
There's basically two ways to look at this thing. You can have people that have a very, very vivid conscious recollection of it, or others that have a feeling that something has gone on. And then through, working with a therapist, they come to find out that, yes, something did happen, or no, something did not happen. Here's a good case I can talk about right now. One of this couple were coming down out of a state park, and they noticed this light over the ocean, and this light get bigger and bigger, and after a while it literally was over their head, and it was a triangular craft, and this triangular craft basically was silent, was not making any noise, but it had lights on the corners of the triangle, and it went into this canyon behind them and sat there and kind of did this butterfly effect where it just kind of moved back and forth and up and down. And they noticed another light over the ocean, and the same thing happened. Finally, the craft is over their heads. The first one, they were looking at it. The second one, they felt it was looking at them, and they became frightened. And this happened 5 more times. So these craft were in there, and these craft were the size of a Learjet, a relatively one of the small Learjets. Excuse me. And so all of a sudden, all of them kind of they were in this horizontal position, side by side. They kind of all and simultaneously went up on their side in this vertical position, all lined up. And it's like they went around a corner and disappeared. They just vanished. Well, needless to say, they decided at that point that they were getting out of the state park, and this was near dusk. And this particular area, even during the day, it's very wooded and on the dark side, and it's rocky, and well, they felt that they were floating, that they just went through this area, and almost like, as they said, like an automaton of some sort. And the next thing they know, it's 3 hours later, and they're in a restaurant up the road, probably about 10 minutes, drive from the state park. But they have 3 hours of missing time. They cannot account for. And so they basically decided that, okay, we have to, figure out what's going on. And one of the things that occurred to them is that they both developed a rash afterwards. Well, that part of the world, there's poison ivy and there's poison oak. Okay, so that could be a very common type of a thing. But the fact of the matter is they went to a doctor, and the doctor said, no, that's not poison ivy or poison oak. I don't know what it is. And so they went to another doctor. And that doctor said, well, it's something internal, like some kind of a reaction to something, but I'm not really sure what it is. So anyway, these people finally found our support group and the OPUS support group, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support in San Jose. And
that's something that I've never heard of before, OPUS, and I've got that in the description of the video here of our podcast. Is it just a San Jose thing, or is it nationwide?
No, it's worldwide.
Worldwide.
It's worldwide.
Okay. What is it exactly?
Well,
is it like a branch off the MUFON tree?
I'm sorry?
Is it like a branch off the MUFON tree?
No, it's not. It's not. Let me finish this story first, because this is the interesting part, and then I'll get back to the OPUS situation. But so anyway, they had taken a picture of this rash, and they showed it to the people in the support group, and almost without exception, they all said that at one time or another they had a very similar rash. And one of the people in the group said, well, I know what that's from. And so we said, well, what is it? He said, it's a reaction to the fluid that they dip you in to sanitize you when they bring you on board the craft. So, of course, that was a real mind bender that we had.
Wait, they did what now? They sanitized them?
Yes. this was a reaction to the sanitization process. So
What were they
anyway,
trying not to get? Were they trying not to get the virus or something?
probably
Was
they're
this
afraid
after?
of COVID just as we are. So anyway, in 2007,
Wow.
well, first of all, backing all the way up to 1994, this is when OPUS, the Organization for Paranormal Understanding and Support, was co-founded with myself and a Dr. Eugene Lipson. And our mission is basically to help people having paranormal experiences. And as it turns out, most of the experiences that we've been dealing with are involved with the abduction phenomena. And so, as I said before, MUFON was basically a nuts and bolts type of an organization, and they kind of sidestepped the whole abduction phenomena. Well, in 2007, I went to the international director of MUFON and said, and this was James Carrion at the time, hey, you guys are missing a lot of information here with regard to the abduction phenomena. So we basically at that point made an agreement that whenever calls were coming in for help with those types of things, that I would get the phone calls. And so MUFON was forwarding calls to me for years and years until finally, and then I started that A.E.R.C, the Abduction Experiencer Research Committee, and we published a finding based on 71 people that felt that they had been abducted and 51 people that were a control group. And it's called the Omega-3 study, which you can find on the opusnetwork.org website. Our website, as I said, is opusnetwork.org.
Yeah,
and
the link is in the description, guys, if anybody wants to go there.
Yeah, great. And so we've had this relationship with them, and then finally, as I said, from those early days, that MUFON finally, decided, yes, we need to do this ourselves. And so that relationship, as far as getting, things forward to us, just stopped. But I'm also, as I said, a research consultant for the MUFON A.R.T. And we're in the process of releasing the first phase of the Omega-4 study, which again is a study where, in this particular case, we've gone out to therapists that are dealing with this phenomena and had them answer this survey. And so that's something that we're going to publish in the near future here. But anyway, so OPUS has been doing this since 1994. We're officially a nonprofit organization recognized by the IRS, which always I get a big kick out of because, the paranormal and the IRS, I don't know if that's an oxymoron or something, but to me, it's very interesting. So anyway, I think getting back to your original question here, as far as OPUS is concerned, those early days were based on my still being a field investigator and working with these people. But then because of that work that I did with them and finding out that a lot of them, felt that they had contact with non-human intelligences, that there was need of some kind of a support mechanism. And OPUS has set up an online support group, which is totally confidential. The only way you get into it is you go to our website, opusnetwork.org. And if you're looking for help, you can contact us there. And we have a list, resources of hypnotherapists and various other types of consultants and mental health practitioners for these people, because there is something definitely going on. And, John Mack, I don't know if you're familiar with John Mack, but, he was a Harvard psychiatrist that got involved with this phenomena. And has written many, a couple of really important books, one called Abduction, and he's found that these people do not have a psychopathology. They're totally sane. They're not confabulating. They're not having false memories. They're not all the things that debunkers talk about. Basically, have been basically pushed aside, and to the extent that, hey, these people are having real experiences. And so the bottom line still is, what are they? Are they interdimensional? Are they extraterrestrial? Are they time travelers? Are they military? Or are they all the above, which I kind of think that they are.
A lot of people think that they're fallen angels.
It can be that too.
Or
sure.
Demons.
Depending on your worldview. They could be angels. They could be demons. That's the other side of the coin. There's so many different things that are part of this huge puzzle.
All right. And you said both MUFON and OPUS are not-for-profit organizations?
Well, certainly OPUS is a nonprofit. I'm not sure. I think MUFON also might be a nonprofit, but I'm not 100% sure about that.
All right. Let me go back a second. You mentioned I want to go back to that abduction you said where those people were sanitized. Is that the first time you've heard of something like that? I've never heard that before. Is that something that happens a lot?
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, it definitely was the first time I've heard of that, and I have not heard of it since. So, it is something that.
And this was post-COVID, you said, this experience?
Oh, way post. Yeah, this is in the 90s.
Oh, so it's pre-COVID. This was in the 90s that they were sanitized.
Yeah, pre, yes,
okay.
yes.
All right. I was going to say, I don't know if those might not have been aliens. But I've never heard that before, and you've never heard that from any other experiencer.
No. Have not.
That's the strangest thing. Why would they have to sanitize them?
Yeah. And the interesting part was that so many people had that same kind of rash.
So they might have been sanitized, so they just don't know.
Yeah.
Huh,
exactly.
That's strange.
Well, one of the other meetings, okay, because maybe you're going to ask this question later, but one of the people in the group says, "I've seen you before," talking to me. And I said, "Where? MUFON conference or UFO conference?" No. I saw you on board the craft. I said, "Really? Oh, that's interesting." Then I kind of blew it off. And it was probably a year and a half later that a totally different person said, "Hey, I've seen you before." I said, "Where? UFO conference, something like that." "Oh, no. You were sitting on this bench on the craft naked, and you were freaking out, and they told me to go over to you and calm you down." So, of course, at that point, I decided, okay, I'm going to go get regressed, and I'm going to see if I can find out anything. Well, the interesting thing was I never found out anything about being on board a craft or being with aliens of any kind, but I did have multiple past lives. So, and this is another factor that plays into this whole phenomena as well, that people are having past life phenomena going on, and that's directly related to the fact that our soul, our energy, our consciousness never dies, and it just goes on and on and on and gets reincarnated into another person, form, what have you. And so maybe in one of those lives, you might have had an experience with a quote-unquote non-human entity. But, in this particular one right now, that doesn't seem to be the case, at least for me. So this is why it gets really wild. I mean, in my book, I address a lot of that kind of thing, the unknown other and the existential proposition of alien contact. And by the way, Linda Moulton Howe did the foreword for the book. And so it's
the unknown other.
Hmm.
Can you tell us a little bit about the book? You pretty much just talk about Opus, I suppose, right? Like what it is, what its mission
Well,
is.
I begin with talking about sort of like what we've done tonight. Talk about my background, how I got started, and then the working with MUFON and what I did with MUFON, and then the creation of Opus. But then I go into the factors, the physical aspects of the abduction phenomena, the psychological aspects of it. I talk about you talk about implants, and then the automatic writing that goes on with a lot of these people. We talk about also the UAP report that was done in June here.
Yeah,
That
what
was
a
published.
joke that was, right?
And what the bottom line with that, even though there wasn't a lot of solid information, if you will, the fact that it was actually published and put out there is certainly a step forward, and that supposedly there are going to be congressional hearings.
But
And that,
it's nothing new. I mean, they've published and set forward lots of things.
well, yeah.
I mean, this is
But
just something
as I
else
said,
that was
this
totally
is the
vague.
first time the government has really come out and actually, kind of admitted that, oh yeah, there's something going on. Is it the Russians? Is it the Chinese? We don't have evidence that it's extraterrestrial in nature, but they don't have evidence that it's not.
Well, they're lying. They're lying. They know.
Well, I'm sure they know a lot more. Yes,
They're
I
lying.
agree
They're
with
lying.
I agree with you on that.
Let me ask you this: do most of the people you talk to, do they see the same being, or is it different beings? Or
Well,
is there some that's more than others? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
predominantly it's the grays, the small grays.
what would you say predominantly? Like 80%, 90%?
Yeah. Oh, it's like 80% probably. 70 to
80%?
80%. Yeah. And then you have closely followed by orbs.
Orbs, really?
Orbs. Yeah, orbs. That is something that is
Well, like a ball of light, that kind of orb.
yeah,
They're abducted
yeah,
by orbs.
yeah, yes,
Wow, I'm gonna have to do a show on that. I've never knew that an orb could abduct you. What?
yeah.
How many do they see?
I mean, there's been cases where an orb has gone into a body, a person who had cancer, and based after that incident, they no longer had cancer. I mean, there's healings going on with this as well. There's the phenomena is just ripe with all kinds of characteristics that are phenomenal in one sense, but also very important in another sense. People that have had abductions, a number of people, besides becoming empathic, have also had the ability to heal people. Matter of fact, one of the people in our support group, the online support group, who lives up in Vancouver, did a healing on me, which actually worked from distance. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we don't understand, and you just have to scratch your head and say, what in the hell is going on? And the bottom line is we truly do not fully understand this phenomenon, and there's a lot more to be learned.
What is the percentage of, I guess, people that get abducted that have some kind of hybridization issue going on?
What kind of issue?
A hybridization issue, like women that get abducted or men that get abducted, where they're I guess taking eggs from women or getting them pregnant or whatnot. What's the percentage of that? Is that almost every time?
It doesn't happen every time, but there seems to be a high percentage of people that are, males having their sperm taken and females their eggs taken, and that this hybridization process is one that is seemingly going on. And what purpose is that hybridization process? Is this something that the non-human intelligence are in need of to resupply something within themselves? Or is this a process where they're hoping to eventually make all of us hybrids and in that way take over our civilization, our planet? They don't have to, send over a whole lot of saucers and with death rays and blow us up. This is a very stealthy way to do it.
They have. Oh, come on, man. If they wanted to take us out, they take us out. They're not trying. They're not. I guess what I'm trying to say is if they're not afraid of us at all. I don't think.
Well, actually, in some cases, they are afraid of us simply because of the fact that in most cases, when you're dealing with the grays, either the short or the tall grays, their physical stature is a lot less than ours, and we can really harm them if we can possibly break through that paralysis that generally accompanies.
Yeah, but they don't need to.
Abductions.
They don't need to be here either.
No.
I mean, they could just fly away and go home.
That's probably true. And then, of course, you have the comments that have been made about the fact that, well, this is a school. And they come in here and they do this because people have said that, well, what, if they're so smart, if they've abducted, 5 or 6 people, they'd learn everything about us. They don't need to do anything else and they can go away. Well, it's like a laboratory where, we take rats and we experiment on rats, and then or we take a dolphin out of the water, out of their environment. We take blood out of them. We tag them, like an implant, and then we throw them back in the water. And then, a year later, we'll pull them out again because we've captured them again, and do the same damn thing. And so it's like a school that they're teaching their younger how to work with this species. So we're not on the top of the food chain here, folks.
All right. So you mentioned omega-3 earlier. Did you say
Yes.
what the findings were in that?
I didn't say it, but I can tell you what they were. So let me just go over that. Okay. So in general, abductees and experiencers profile differently than do comparison counterparts on a number of general psychological and specific neurological variables. Yet there are remarkable similarities between the experiential group and the comparison group. It should be noted that in no case did experiencers or comparison group participants show any signs of mental illness or personality disorder. Fantasy proneness does not appear to play a differentiating role between the experiential and the control group. However, sensitivity to alternative realities and early and recurrent paranormal or psi experiences seem to play a role in the abduction experience. Childhood conflict, psychosocial tension, and abuse and trauma more than likely facilitate a dissociative coping style in later life. And when I say dissociative coping style, this is not a psychopathology, but just a way to handle various situations that these people have come up with. How much a part dissociation plays in the abduction experience remains an open question, but the ring and rosing abuse trauma dissociation pathway remains a variable or a viable descriptive, if not explanatory principle. Both experience with and interest in the abduction phenomena have impact on how one's body is perceived to function, how one views the world and one's purpose in it, and how one defines or reduces or redefines one's faith, tradition, and beliefs. In essence, both experience with and interest in contact seem to change one's sense of self and one's worldview. Abductees experiencers believe that there is a sentient, purposive, alien intelligence at play in their lives and at work in the world. What the intelligence goals are seen to be more beneficent than malevolent, more benign than malignant. This, though, remains an open question and a point of doubt in the minds and hearts of some abductees, experiencers, and some comparison control participants. It also remains a point of contention among abduction researchers. The brain generally, and the temporal lobes and limbic system more particularly, play a mediating role in anomalous experiences such as abduction. This in no way implies that abductions are all in or only in the abduction's heads. Rather, it points to the likelihood of temporal lobe lability as a preset or precursor to extraordinary experiences. While it would be too reductionistic to claim that the brain creates such experiences, it is not far-fetched to think that the brain plays an important part in the who and the what of extraordinary experiences and how they are interpreted. So the bottom line is that, and this is why I was mentioned the omega-4 study, is that we're trying to go a little bit deeper now and to looking at not only the experiences but the therapists and how they're working with these people and how we can better help them to help the experiencer. Because this phenomena, I think the Roper organization in 1992, I think it was, published a piece on the fact that at that time they estimated that there were 6 million people in the United States that have been abducted. And so, I mean, you talk about those kind of numbers, and then you just extrapolate that to the present time and worldwide. It's a phenomenal number. And so what is this? Is this some type of consciousness experiment that's going on that we certainly don't understand? So it's going down that rabbit hole, and there's so many ways you can turn, but the bottom line is that it's something that I think needs, people that have the wherewithal to do these experiments and tests need to step up and do more of that to better understand this phenomena.
Let me ask you this. Will Carr has a good question here. And I want to let everybody know that in about, I guess, 18, 20 minutes or so, we'll go to questions, which is what we normally do the last half hour of the show. But he has a good one here. It says, what about privileges? Do you find that only certain people get certain privileges when on a spacecraft?
Well, yeah, I don't know if you call it privileges. Yeah, I think people have talked about the fact that they've let the experiencer step up to the control panel and fly the craft. That there's been actual two-way communication, which in a lot of cases does not happen. Generally, certainly there's no communication between the small grays and sometimes even the tall grays. There's no real communication. However, there's another species called the mantids, or praying mantis type creatures, that seem to be very old, very benevolent, very caring, and usually try to put the experiencer at ease during this. So, but as far as privileges, I don't think there's privileges.
So everybody's kind of treated the same.
Most people are treated like we would treat lab animals.
So that's not very nice.
In most cases, it's not. However, having said that, the majority, probably close to 80% of people that have been abducted, claim that they do not want to have it stop because they reach a point that whatever minor communication is going on, that they are it's almost like the Stockholm syndrome. That, people are being abducted, and then after a while, because they've been doing this so many times, that they miss it when it's not happening, and they want it to continue because they want to try to find out more. And you have people that have had truly bad experiences and want to stop it. In most cases, they're extremely ambivalent, and that they, because of that ambivalence, because they want to understand more and they're more curious, it doesn't stop. And so I have to tell them, look, if you want this to stop, you can make it stop. However, you have to be damn well sure that you're not in the back of your mind thinking, well, I'd like to find out where they're really from. And so I need to get abducted one more time to try to find that out. And of course, people have been told where these people are from, whether it's Rosetta Reticuli or Orion or the Draco Nebula or something like that. It's a very rich environment as far as the types of interactions that are going on. And so to go back to the original question, as far as privileges are concerned, yeah, maybe some people are like I said, the privilege to fly the craft. That's certainly a big one. I would love that.
Now,
But
if somebody's flying the craft, is that normally maybe not their first experience? Like, I mean, if they take you a second time or a third time, maybe they'll let you fly it the third time or something. Or do some people actually get to fly the UFO after being taken the first time?
I have no idea.
All right.
I have no idea. I mean, I've heard most of these cases are multiple abductions. We're looking at people that have, close to 20 abductions in a lot of cases.
Do they have the same blood type or anything? Why would they be abducted so
Yeah,
much?
there's a blood type that seems to be very popular, O negative.
Yeah.
The Rh negative factor is seems to be one that people or the aliens seem to focus on for whatever reason.
Now, Shaka Khan says that experiencers end up as targeted individuals if they live long enough. I'm one of them, and it started in the 70s. So have you noticed that experiencers that get older get targeted more as they age, I guess?
No, I would say it's just the opposite. I would say it starts to taper off. And I think maybe what it is a case of actually your conscious memory coming to be, coming into action, that now you're starting to remember things that you didn't remember before for whatever reason, because you've been busy doing other things. But now as you get older, a lot of people, I mean, I'm getting things from people that are, in their 60s and 70s that are saying, hey, I've got to tell somebody what happened to me. I can't keep this in any longer, and it's not because it's getting more frequent, but it's something that is bubbling up inside them that has been going on for years. And now it seems like some impetus is pushing them to, bring this to the fore.
All right. Let me ask you this. We've had a guest on the show before that was abducted multiple times, and she says that she's actually experienced, I guess, grays on the spacecraft doing like some kind of religious rituals or satanic rituals. Do you ever have any experiencers that share that experience?
I have not had anyone, and I've got close to 300 people in this online support group right now talking 24/7 about their experiences, and that I've not heard anything as far as a correlation between the non-human intelligences, grays, if you will, having those kind of ceremonies. Have heard of demonic type situations where
On the
those types.
spacecraft.
No, had nothing to do with the spacecraft.
Okay. What about rituals? Is anybody? I mean, and not just the Greys. I mean, by any kind of like on any kind of spaceship, any experiencers that have seen any kind of ritual.
If there has been, it's very minor, and I have not, as I said, in all the years that I've been, involved with this, heard of any quote unquote ritual, if you will.
All right.
I mean, people have asked, the aliens about, do you believe in God?
Well, what do the aliens say to that?
They generally don't answer.
They don't answer at all.
They don't answer at all. It's like they ignore the question.
Well, it's like if I was in the grocery store and somebody asked me if I was conflict radio, I'd probably ignore it. Right? Maybe they are God.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, I'm not going to talk about that.
Right.
So what do you think we're dealing with here?
Well, I think I mentioned it before. I think it's a plethora of things. I think that, I think we can be dealing with extraterrestrial because they have a handle on physics that we don't have, to be able to come to this planet from wherever they're coming from. And, they've figured out that they don't have to worry about the speed of light. Is it interdimensional? Which is certainly a possibility.
Well, have any of these people asked them like, hey, where are you guys from? I mean, they obviously they point out a star system or something, or do they say that they're interdimensional? I mean, what are you hearing?
In a lot of cases, Zeta Reticuli comes up, or the Orion group comes up often. Draco comes up. The planet Ganymede even comes up. The moon of Jupiter, and then as far as the interdimensionals are concerned, those situations are such that we have string theory that talks about multiple dimensions, and there's three different types of string theory. Even that you go from 10 all the way up to 26 dimensions that are possible, and these bubbles that maybe interact with one another, and there are times when that they touch, and so these things come through, and these portals are created. And even the Skinwalker Ranch thing, people have talked about portals opening up and these creatures coming through. So they
could be from like Alpha Centauri, say, and but they're traveling through portals to get here.
Yeah. Or their Einstein was able to bend time and space, we just we don't have the scientific knowledge to do that at the present time. However, they believe, quote unquote, whoever they are, believe that this is a possibility, and that we are hopefully, at some point in time, are going to be able to get to that point as well.
Have you ever talked to anybody that stated that they were transferred from craft to craft or from craft to facility?
Well, there's been people going from wherever they were to a craft, from that craft to a facility. Not so much craft to craft. I have not heard that.
Craft to facility, then.
Yeah.
Probably underground facility.
Oftentimes they talk about underground facilities. Yes.
Wow.
And that the reptilians are supposedly they're underground right now as we speak on our planet.
Well, yeah. I mean, I hear that there's actually a war being fought right now underground.
Yeah,
have you heard that?
The mesa in Utah there, that there's been talk about an underground base that's super deep, and that there's different levels of humans and non-humans, and that there was a war that went on at one point down there, and people got killed, but haven't heard much more about that. And this story goes back, I think, into the 80s sometime.
You know, the Navajo speak of fighting reptilians and pushing them underground. Did you know that?
Well, I've heard of the Hopi and Navajo talking about the ant people as far
from Antarctica.
as a group that they get involved with.
The ant people are from Antarctica, right?
No,
No?
they're right in Arizona and Utah, that the Four Corners area.
You gotta wonder though, like, you know, if it maybe has something to do with Antarctica.
Well, that's a whole nother story.
Yeah,
Accordingly, there's
right?
an ancient civilization that has a facility there, and then I guess a couple of guys that Linda Moulton Howe had actually interviewed talked about that. That's a very interesting story.
Yeah, I find that fascinating. You know, like, boy, I would love to know what's really going on in Antarctica. I say we all go there with blow dryers and just melt the whole place.
Yeah. Well, I tell you, you probably won't have to wait too long, because the way that the world is going right now, the way it's melting, you won't have to take a blow dryer.
Well,
Mother Nature's going to take care of it.
that's all right. You know, it's not gonna melt for long, because what happens is that the current in the Atlantic Ocean winds up getting cold from the ice melting in Antarctica, and totally causes an ice age. That's actually what happens with science. So,
well,
it's pretty interesting stuff when you really get
into
it.
As long as it doesn't happen in the next 20 years, I'm okay.
No, I'm fine. Let Antarctica melt. I'm ready for the pole shift to start.
Well, it's already happening.
No, I mean the slide where the crust is unlocked and we slide. It's gonna be quite an experience. That's gonna happen. There's science on that. All right, so I guess if anybody has any questions for Les, go ahead and put it in the chat room now, and put it in caps so I can see it. And let's get started. If anybody out there has any questions, make sure to hit that like button, because it does help the algorithm and it helps get more people in here. I took last week off, so it seems to have hit our numbers a little bit. So every little bit helps, guys. So if you can like it on your Roku, just push up on the arrow and then to the right once, hit the button, and you can move over to like and like it. It's very easy. And make sure you subscribe to the channel. I have been, I guess, in contact with YouTube yesterday about the notifications, because I've been getting a lot of complaints that nobody's getting notified of the show. And they told me that only about 10% of the 53,000 subscribers that we have actually have hit the bell notification. So they recommended that I tell y'all, if you want to get notified when we are live, to be a part of the question section and to be a part of the live show, hit the bell. I guess that's just something you got to do. You can't just subscribe anymore. You have to hit the bell. Okay. So I'm looking at the statements here. Let me ask you this, because you know there's so much going on in the world today. Do you think that there's a chance that, I mean, obviously we hear the stories, but do you think that there's a chance that these gray aliens are actually, I guess, engineered, that they're AI?
Yes, absolutely. There seems to be more and more, corroborating information, if you will, that there's some type of a biological robotic combination that's going on there.
That they're kind of like synthetic, right? They're not real. They're not alive. They're not. And we've heard stories about how they don't have any emotion, right?
Correct.
I mean my computer doesn't have an emotion, right? I mean, that would explain why they don't have emotion.
Oh, absolutely.
Have any of the
They're
people,
programmed.
have any of the people that you've talked to that have witnessed these creatures or beings or synthetics or whatever they are, have any of them ever reported one with an injury?
Oh, yeah.
What kind of
Yeah.
injuries
Yeah. I
would
mean,
they
I've
have?
had one of the abductees actually fight with a gray and rip off his arm.
What happened? Did it bleed? Did it scream out in pain? Like what?
It was almost no reaction.
Well, I mean that would just
Yeah.
further put forward the theory that they're not real.
You're right. Exactly.
Any others besides that one?
No, that's probably the most dramatic one that I've heard.
Was it easy to rip off the arm? Did it come apart at the shoulder, like the joint, or?
Yeah, you know, the guy that did this is a pretty big dude, and you know, he just had enough of this stuff, so he decided to fight and not get himself abducted again. And he basically, just tore its arm off right from the shoulder joint, I guess. And he had this bluish fluid that came out of that area. And so, you know, when you hear that and the reaction of the gray, you definitely think that it's some type of a combination of a biological robotic synthesis that's gone on.
You know, it's fascinating. Maybe that's why the head's so big, right? And why the eyes are so big. It's really covering up like all of this computer programming and stuff. So any mention of time travel from any of these beings, or from any of the I guess abductees?
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, again, that's one of the things that I talked about earlier, that, besides interdimensionality or extraterrestrial or military, is time travel. And time travel, generally speaking, we're not dealing with grays anymore. We're dealing with us in a lot of cases. The Rendlesham Forest case that happened in 1980, basically, this entity was human-like, and supposedly came back from 40,000 years in the future. And again,
40,000 years? That's so long. That's so far away.
40,000, yeah.
I couldn't even imagine going 40. I mean, goodness sakes. I mean, 2,000 years ago, we were, I guess, walking on water with Jesus and turning fish and wine into a lot of fish and wine. I mean, I can't even imagine what 40,000 years would do to the planet. I mean, any idea or any insights on what that looks like?
Well, evidently they came back because they were having issues with their genome and their DNA, and they wanted to collect, I guess, some healthy DNA, because I guess we went down a path that caused us issues with reproduction and things of that nature. So, the way we're going now, you certainly don't have 40,000 years to correct all the crap that's going on in the world. And if we continue to do what we're doing to our planet and to ourselves, we definitely won't make it 40,000 years.
Well, we don't know that, right? There could be a huge depopulation event or a solar flare or something, and we'll take care of all those problems naturally. Vash Wolfwood wants to know, the guy that ripped off that alien's arm, I guess, what did he do with the arm? Did he get to keep it? Did he just throw it down on the ground?
Well, I think what happened was, of course, that wasn't the only alien in the room. And at the time this happened, and of course he was totally, after this happened, this was a very quick process that occurred, and he was knocked out, which is typical of these interactions that happen. But for whatever reason, they did not paralyze him before this whole event happened, and he was able to do what he did. And so therefore the only thing that he had left was some spots on his rug of this fluid. And of course, this happened at night, and the next morning he sees this thing, and he's trying to collect a sample of it, and the damn stuff just like disappears. It just goes away. And that happened in so many cases where this fluid is seen. I mean, it could be yellow. There's a lot of cases where there's yellow fluid left behind from whatever process that was going on during the abduction. And like Betty Hill had stains on her dress, and what occurred with that after a while. All these things seem to disappear, and they're not analyzable for whatever reason.
I heard Betty Hill had like 22 different personalities.
I don't know
she had
about that.
Like
I don't
the
think
multiple
so.
personality disorder. She had 22 different personalities.
No, I don't think that's true. To tell you the truth. I know Kathleen Martin, who is her niece, and that I've never heard that. And again, this is something that people that just don't want to deal with this fact, want to debunk it in some way, shape, or form. Guys, the thing is real. It's very real.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. Something is definitely going on. David Gray says, amazing show today. I have a question of my own. Does he think people are already going to Mars and other planets, such as the space program, I guess secret space program? What's your opinions on that?
Well, years ago, and I heard about this, and I kind of blew it off. I really didn't think that it was happening. But if you go and really research, there's been talk about a space group for years, and now you have people like this retired general from Israel, Haim Mashed, who basically came out with this book that's saying, "Hey, we've been dealing with the aliens. There's trade going on. We have bases on the moon and on Mars, and if that's going on, then you would think that the Space Force is got to be real." So my way of thinking about this right now is, I'm definitely leaning that way. More than 50%, maybe 51%.
Well, if that's the case, that would suggest that the government knows that there's, I guess, these craft coming down and allowing it to happen without telling the people what's going on, right?
Well, there's a book out there called Rachel's Eyes. And if you guys haven't read it yet or gotten it, you really should. It's about a woman and her daughter. Her daughter went to school supposedly with a hybrid, and she was constantly in touch with a military person, and there was this relationship that went on between the hybrid and the daughter, and she come to find out that indeed the military has had multiple retrievals of crashed UFOs with live aliens at a base in Nevada, and it's not Area 51. It's a totally different base, about supposedly 90 miles southwest of Ely, Nevada. So if anybody wants to go out there and search, let me know, because I'd like to go.
Yeah, well, they have one in northern Arizona too. All right, so Jose Fuentes wants to know: do the Greys eat? Has anybody ever experienced them drinking or eating anything?
No, there doesn't seem to be any type of digestive system going on or excretory system that's happening with them. And of course, if they're robotic in nature, then definitely there's probably no need for it.
Boy, I would love to get a hold of one of those. Right?
Yeah.
I take it to science class and dissect it like a frog. I bet you there'd be so much interesting stuff inside, especially if it was mechanical, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, Game Vet wants to know: does anyone keep track of abduction cases, and if so, is it a steady number of people every year?
Well, let me back up. First of all, the biggest organization right now in the world is MUFON, as far as collecting data. So since, let's see, well, really since about 6 years ago, probably 7 years ago, with the advent of the E.R.T, they're starting now to keep track of abduction cases in a bigger way, although they have had before that notes in the files on abduction cases. Now, whether or not we're actually having more cases today versus years ago, I think with the advent of cell phones, hold on a second.
Uh-huh.
There we go. With the advent of cell phones and our internet that's going on, there's been a lot more information being collected and disseminated. And so there seems to be more of an uptick in the number of abduction type cases that are happening. And of course, the world population has increased as well. So, it's hard to put a definitive, yes or no on that. But the sense that I have, based on the number of people that are contacting our organization, it seems to be definitely going in a positive, increasing type of a way.
So, is there any way for you to be able to tell us how many people have reported abductions to MUFON in, like, say, the year 2020 or 2019, for that matter?
Actually, I can't. Not because I don't want to. I just don't know. I would have to. You can actually go on their website, MUFON.com, and there should be an area where you get data as far as the number of UFO sightings are concerned. But most of the time,
well, that could be anything, though.
Well, but most of these cases are either unknowns as far as the ones that are reported. These are the unknowns, and saying, okay, well, but as far as the abduction type things, those records are sensitive too, because a lot of times these people do not want to have any information out there in any way, shape, or form.
Well, that's fine, but I mean, they could still be a number on the bedpost, so to speak, right?
Yeah, that absolutely true.
I mean, we need to know what these numbers are.
Yeah.
How many was in 2019, 2020, or 2018? Like,
yeah.
How many people are being abducted? Like, is it consistent? Is it 5,000 a year, 10,000 a year, 20,000 a year? I mean, come on, MUFON. These are answers we want to hear, right?
I think the thing is that you're not going to, as far as getting a number, because a lot of people are not going to report it. So if you're asking how many people are abducted,
no, I'm asking how many are reported.
Okay.
I mean,
okay, that's a different question.
I mean, obviously, there's going to be people that don't say anything, and people that maybe aren't abducted but really are. But we could still have an average number of how many per year.
Here, do this. I got 25 today. People looking for help based on
25 today.
25 today. Okay. And so take that number and multiply it out, and then you get a number just from me.
I am. I'll do it right now. 25 times 365 is what? What's 25? Here, hang on. What's 25 times 365?
That would be 9,125.
So that's 9,125. So just going off how many people, I guess, would talk to you in a given day, that's almost 10,000 a year.
Yeah.
And do you do just the United States, or you do around the world?
No, it's around the world.
Well, I mean, I guess that's kind of a small number, right? But I mean, that's just you.
Yeah, that's just me.
Yeah.
Exactly. And
So
and
we're
then
talking a lot of people.
and people that don't report it.
Yeah.
And it depends on the country too. Some countries, they people are having these experiences, but they're not going to report it just because of the culture.
All right. Let me ask you this. Vash wants to know, do we have any ideas what kind of education system they have or how they educate their race?
No, we do not know that.
Nobody's going to space. I'm trying to get to the. Do you think that I guess Dr. Strangelove with the Earth flat around theory? What do you think?
What?
Is the Earth flat or round? What do you think?
Oh my God!
Got to go there, right? Put it on the record. It's round, right? I say it's round.
Of course, it's round.
Right. All right. So I don't know what he was saying there about Antarctica. Let's see. Scrolling down. Aliens don't pay taxes. So, all right, here we go. Yeah, no, I don't know. Yeah, they might, right? No, obviously not, because they're either not from Earth and not paying taxes, or they're from Earth and they're the elite and they still wouldn't pay taxes then either. So,
right.
Elise Sabiu wants to know: do aliens have any kind of a social structure?
Well, they have a hierarchy that seems to be in place. You have the small grays, and then you have the tall grays, which don't seem to be robotic in nature. And then you have the mantids, the praying mantis type that seem to be overall those groups. And then you have the Nordics that come to be, in a lot of cases involved. And then you have military, which has been observed by a number of people in relationship to an abduction. And that's a whole nother ball of wax that, is very interesting.
Yeah, Dr. Strangelove says, who likes pancakes? They are not round. They are flat.
Dr. Strangelove has been smoking something.
Well, that might be too. All right. So I guess we're all caught up with the questions. So I guess what's next? What's next? I mean, obviously we're not getting the disclosure that everybody was thinking that we were going to get. Do you think that there's going to be like I guess I can ask this, right? Do you think that there's going to be maybe even a false flag alien invasion? Is that maybe a way to unify the Earth? I
don't have a feeling that that's going to happen. I don't agree with Dr. Greer on that. I think we're, this process that we're going through now is such that hopefully we're going to approach this in a way that is logical and meaningful, and that it's going to come out one way or another that these objects are controlled by some non-human intelligence other than the Russians or the Chinese, and that we need to interface with them. And of course, we already are. You talk to any experiencer, they're already interfacing with these entities, and that's the important part. That the people that are part of the UAP task force needs to understand, and people like Kit Green or Gary Nolan from Stanford, they're probably already working on things like this where, okay, we want you to communicate with the alien civilization that you're in contact with, and let's talk to them and let's get more information. And I guarantee you that's already going on. And so the next step is to what we're going to do with that information and how it's going to be put out to the general public.
All right,
If at all.
let me ask you this, because I'm curious about this. We had Peter Robbins on not too long ago. We were talking about implants. Do you still see a lot of, I guess, implants?
Yes.
Are they are they being removed today, or?
Well, some people would like to have them removed based on the fact that it's affecting them in some way, shape, or form. Then others are of the mind that they're not going to remove them because they don't want to go through that process, and plus they can't find somebody to do it.
So there's nobody out there currently offering implant removal services.
No, that's not true. There are people, a couple of people down in Southern California that are.
Can you tell us who they are?
One is doing it non-surgically, which is interesting, and another person, I believe, has a contact with the surgeon that it can be done. I've had a doctor in Northern California when I was living there that actually did one for me. Unfortunately, he passed away. So don't get too close to me. People pass away when they come in contact with me. So hopefully you'll make it another week, Michael. I'm
asking hard questions, aren't I?
Yeah. So anyway, if people would like to, cross that bridge, they can contact me through our website, opusnetwork.org, and I can, point them in the right direction.
You can't tell us who the doctor is on the air?
I'd rather not, because I don't have their permission to do that.
Okay, so they're kind of so. What are they doing with these things? Where are they going when they remove them?
You know about Dr. Lear, and so he matter of fact, I talk about the findings that he found with these implants. There's about 17 different things and it's in my book, The Unknown Other, and some of these things were transmitting. And they had combinations of, materials that are totally uncommon. And the combinations are uncommon and the materials are uncommon. And so, are they tracking devices? Are they manipulation devices? Are some kind of a, just like we do with our dogs and cats, we chip them and so that if they get lost, we can find them. And so this is happening with these experiencers.
Yeah, that's true. So let me ask you this: do they move around inside the body? Could one be in your right arm one day and your left arm the next?
Well, I've heard that they, in some of these extractions that Dr. Lear did, that in the process of trying to remove it, that it did move. Now, not to the extent where he went from the left arm to the right arm, but certainly, moving away from the scalpel. Are
there any indications that it can move, like say from your arm to your head,
I've not heard
from
that.
your head to your back? No,
I've not heard that. Although if you talk about physical implants versus ethereal implants, that's a whole nother story, which is something that one of these doctors that I know is quite familiar with.
Wait, maybe it's just their way of tagging us, right? And it's like cows with the yellow
Yeah,
tag on their ear.
yeah, exactly.
Well, man, it's scary stuff. Does it? Let me ask you this: you talk to all these people all the time. Do you have any issues? I guess sleeping at night.
Actually, no, because I drink a lot. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But no, you know what it is? You would think that perhaps I would have issues along those lines, but for whatever reason, I don't. And I think what it is that there's been many instances where over the years I've decided, okay, this is enough. I'm not going to do this anymore. And I get pulled back into it for whatever reason. I'll get a phone call, or I get a letter, or I get an email, and somebody looking for help. And I think whether it's the government or whether it's them, they want me to keep doing what I'm doing. And I haven't had any threats. I haven't had any negative issues come up thus far, anyway. And yeah, thank goodness I've been able to sleep at night.
Yeah, I was just wondering, so none of this ever really worries you or concerns you too much.
Well, I do have concern in the sense that for these people that are having these experiences, in a lot of cases, are quite negative, and what they're going through, the trauma, the fear, the anxiety, and so it's very gratifying to be able to help them and get the feedback that they have been helped. So I think that negates any negative feelings or thoughts that may enter my mind.
All right. What are you working on now?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, the omega-4 study, which is a follow-on to the omega-3 study, how clever of us, where the first phase is complete, where we went out to therapists and supplied a questionnaire to them. And so we're going to actually publish that in a very near future. And then the second phase of that is to go out to the clients of these therapists and have them fill out a survey. And we're trying to ask questions that have not been asked before. There's a lot of studies out there. The free study that was done a number of years ago. But we're trying to go beyond that and beyond the omega-3 study, and again trying to dig a little deeper and to get a better understanding of this phenomena.
All right, so the final question of the night, we always ask our guests the same question.
Uh-oh.
Do you know who Corn Pop is?
Corn Pop?
Yeah.
The only corn pop I know is this thing that you put on the stove, and it's got that little aluminum foil thing that blows up and turns into like this giant head.
yeah, I know what you're talking about. I could never get that to work right. I think I might have had it on high, like it always burned the bottom of it, and I never really got any good popcorn. Those things were the worst.
Corn Pop.
But at least they didn't cause corn pop lung, right? I guess like the microwave popcorn does. Microwave popcorn is very bad for you people. Don't eat it every day. Game Bet says that's Jiffy Pop. Right.
Oh, that's right. Jiffy Pop. Right. Okay.
Right. Well, the Corn Pop is a bad dude. So we just got to let everybody know that Corn Pop is just a bad dude. All right. So why don't you tell everybody where they can find you? And we're out of time. We did it. We got through another show.
All right. Hooray. Yeah. The best way to get a hold of me is to go to our website, which is opusnetwork.org. And you can also get the book right there. There's a big picture of the book. All you got to do is click on that. It takes you to Amazon, and so you can buy it. And I think you'll really enjoy the book. There's 33 stories by experiencers in there, and they're quite interesting, and gives you a whole different perspective on the phenomena. And so again, it's opusnetwork.org, and you can contact there if you're looking for support in any way, shape, or form. We hope to be able to give you what you're looking for, and if not, we'll tell you.
All right. And just so everybody knows, the link is in the description box below. Definitely go down and check it out. It really is a well put together website. And do check out the book, The Unknown Other and the Existential Proposition of Alien Contact. All right, Les, hang on a second, and I'm going to wrap things up, and you and I will chat a little bit off the air. I just want to let everybody know that they can find us always on www.conflictradio.net. We are available on Apple, iTunes, Spreaker, and all of your normal podcast catchers. Make sure to check out our store. I guess we've got some pretty cool items in the store. We will be back on Monday and do another show on Monday. So until then, I hope everybody battens down the hatches and just stay safe.